Hey guys, welcome to this remote beast lab here at New York Strong where I work out, and I'm going to be going over now finally the performance review of the Warrior Burn face-off specific head, the brainchild of our good friend Trevor Baptiste. We took this behind the woodshed, worked with it a ton, took a lot of reps with it, as many as we could within the time frame that was allowed, and then brought it to Wednesday night Savage Squad. Every single guy, almost 30 people, had a chance to take a whole bunch of reps with it. I got a lot of feedback, so I'll be playing those clips of their feedback after this review, and hopefully with that, along with some close-up videos of the pinch, you will have all the information you need to know about this head. First off, I can say definitively that in my opinion, this is simply just a CEO killer, okay? If you have this head on the market, I do not see why you would use a CEO over this head. So I can see a year from now, this head completely replacing that as far as heads that are on the market and that are in high rotation. So this feels like I said in the first spec review, the NAS type plastic. It has that kind of strength and integrity to it. And it flexes exactly like a CEO for the most part. It does have some advances on the CEO. The short throat is one of them, but I think the biggest development is what we understand of this bottom rail now. So let's go over this. So off the top, everything you would expect. It feels like a CEO. It bends like a CEO. If you are a CEO guy, you're gonna have that top rail rollover into the throat, that lift, and the face flex, which is obviously what we talk about, okay? Forward, okay? For those of you guys who don't know what a face flex is, there's two styles of pinch. There's an oblique angle pinch, which is most heads on the market, okay? Weapon X being one of them, Dual 2, Mark 2F, etc. And then you have the face flex, which right now, the pure face-off heads that are on the market is the CEO and the Burn that have a face flex, which means it bends more like a spoon or a soup ladle, okay? Flexing up over the ball, lock it up in that throat, basically on a right angle, okay? That's what this head does. That's what this head's made for. If you are a face flex person, this is the style of head that you'll be used to. You'll be able to take a CEO, if you're used to it, jump right in and lose no sleep over the fact that you'll be used to this head in one rep, okay? People ask about, because I know this came out the same time as the ECD head. Look, they're completely different. They're apples and oranges, okay? Don't lose sleep over wondering if one's better than the other. I can tell you right now, they bend completely differently. It's up to what you like. So if you like a face flex, this is your head, okay? I can tell you right now, before I even get further in the review, this is your head. If you like an oblique angle, if you're used to a dual or whatever, then this probably isn't your head. Okay, and you'll see that when we talk further and we have the reviews from some of the guys that I've asked. And just like overnight, you can pick this up. If you've had a CEO for 10 years, grab this head, you'll be used to it in one rep, okay? So trust me. Now, here's the advantages to this head over the CEO. Shorter throat is one. We don't have to talk about that anymore. That's obvious. And yes, it does fit on any alloy shaft. This is a random STX surgeon shaft. Fits totally snug. Okay, 2 screws in the back, they line exactly up where the dual screws would be. You're good to go. All right, now, the top rail feels exactly like a CEO. Folds forward, face flex is exactly the same. You get the little click sound, okay, like when your CEO rubs. You get the click sound here, so that makes you feel right at home. This bottom rail is the changer though, okay? So things that the CEO is notoriously weak against. If you're studying game film against an opponent who uses a CEO, what do you want to do against them? You want to rake. You want to pull the ball in. You can go click and drag and rip. You can go rake and rip, okay? Because the whole head would flip back. If you go against a CEO in a game situation, moto versus moto, you would drive into it and then saw down to peel the head back, all right? This does not have that weakness. This bottom sidewall cuts in, which is completely different than the CEO. This one maintains its rigidity right here at the bottom. Its head is better stand-up neutral grip than the CEO is. The CEO is awful for stand-up neutral grip because it bends backwards. This one actually cuts under the ball way better and gives you that opportunity to come underneath the ball. So this bar going the opposite way, this trestle going the opposite way, even though it's technically asymmetrical, it helps you and you don't notice it at all when it comes to stringing. So very similar to the ECD Weapon X. They have asymmetrical sidewalls and they're noticeably different when you look through, but you can never tell by looking at the face of this head or by stringing it that it throws anything off. So those of you who are like a little weirded out by the asymmetrical head, maybe you weren't a fan of the Command X from Under Armour, this does not have that feel at all. You would never notice until you got locked in on a 50-50 and you were able to cut underneath the ball and rip it out. You were never able to do that with a CEO. You can totally do that with this head, okay? So in my opinion, the single greatest thing about this head as far as it being better than a CEO is this trestle going the other way. It does give it noticeably more strength on the bottom. So in my opinion, after messing with this and really cranking on it and trying to see how its integrity is, this head will last longer than a CEO, because the problem with a CEO is that because both sidewalls both peeled back this way, you would always get that annoying crack right here at the bottom of the sidewall in that hole, and you would start to catch on other guys' sidewall strings and all that stuff. This head doesn't have that problem because this bottom sidewall doesn't peel back. It stays kind of flat. So this top sidewall doesn't peel all the way down. So because it keeps that integrity structurally, I don't think this head is going to be nearly as fragile as a CEO, so it's going to last longer. It's also thicker. The sidewall is definitively thicker. It's not a thin plastic on the side. So what kind of person would like this head? A person who uses a CEO and a person who's more of a power type face-off guy. I know speed is kind of like the thing that Trevor goes with because obviously he's very fast on the clamp. But in my opinion, after seeing guys in action with it yesterday and after messing around with it myself, this is more of a power face-off head. If you're one of those guys who kind of plucks and rips real quick, this won't be as attractive to you as a guy who likes to drive in on the clamp and then kind of saw down and wedge into the ball. This is going to be more of your style of head, okay, for more of those power guys. Now, if you're somebody who likes to play in the field afterwards, a FOSO, face-off, stay-on, I actually think this head would do better than a dual 2. I think this will maintain its shape better. You have the wedge, which kind of puts it back in place. Now, this bottom sidewall, this bottom trestle, straight-wise, this whole length maintains its shape. The only thing I've noticed is a little bit of the warp forward right there, okay? Pun not intended. Okay, see how the warp it maintains its shape, but the whole thing kind of gets thrown off a little bit? That gets solved when you throw the wedge on there. So I wouldn't be too freaked out by how this head looks right here, okay? This is a couple of days, I would say 48 hours worth of hard work, and we've been really trying to crank on this thing. So this obviously maintained its shape really well. It just kind of tilts over to the side. Once you throw the wedge on it, it straightens back out. So I think the wedge being sold with this head is huge, and I think it's very forward thinking on Trevor and Warrior's standpoint. Now, for people who like an oblique angle face-off head, meaning your first move is to drive the throat into the ball, and you like the bottom sidewall to wrap under, and you like this top sidewall to dip down and cut, this is not going to be your type of head. Okay, this head is not an oblique angled head. This head is a forward face flex head, and it's dominant at it, okay? So pros of this head that I have found, it's way better than a CEO, shorter throat, better scoop, better plastic integrity, will last longer, and it has the bottom sidewall that maintains its shape and cuts under the ball. All of those are an improvement on the CEO. The cons, and this is coming from an oblique guy, okay? I like oblique angle face-off heads. If you look at the Weapon X, it's obvious. For me, I like the feel of this part dipping down underneath my opponent's sidewall. So those are the pros and cons from my standpoint. Like I said, after I'm done talking about this head, guys will then come out and I will have some of my Savage Squad guys talk about the pros and cons that they found from a performance standpoint. But that's what I noticed. So like I said, in closing, when you watch this thing in action, It feels good wrapping around the ball. You can see from this angle, okay, it may look a little wide to you, but it's not. It maintains its shape well. This sidewall cuts into the ball, okay? It still has all the same feelings as a regular CEO. And then any bend that you might get, any flexing, any warping is solved when you throw the wedge on there in between face-offs, okay? Scoop's fine, and it's still playable. I think it's a better FOA head than a Dual 2. Definitely stronger than a Mark IIF, and it's not as awkward as a Command X. It is completely night and day different than a Weapon X. So this is a unique head, and definitely a huge evolution on the CEO, all right? So there you go. The Warrior Burn face-off, inspired by Trevor. Kudos to my man Tuna for coming up with a head that's gonna really hit the market and do well. And for all you guys out there that are looking for some more information, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hang in there, because I got some real close-ups of the flexes, and I also have some input from the Savage Squad.
I've always used a CEO, so it snaps over the ball just like a CEO, except that it has more of an open flex, so I could snap over the ball much easier. Con is it pinches up here pretty heavy, so it's probably going to be harder to catch and throw. I would say a pro about this is that it's like the CEO, but a con is also that it's also like the CEO.
All right.
So,
fair enough.
Pro of the burn is how it flexes and how it grinds over the ball. One con is the stiffness of it. It's pretty stiff. But anyways, I like it a lot.
Cool.
A pro is that it wraps around the ball like a CEO, and a con is that it pinches like crazy.